Good evening. Today is July 26, 2018, and welcome to the Reuben Hoare Library Board of Trustees meeting. My name is Demetra Taylor, and this is my first meeting as your chair of the trustees. We're going to start with public participation. We have Caleb Church here. He is our Ray Grandy Scholarship recipient, and this year he completed 150 hours of service to the library, and we are here to say thank you, Caleb, for coming. Thank you for your service to the library, and to just talk to you a little bit about how your year went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
So,
Yeah, my year went great. I had a lot of fun learning the Dewey Decimal System. I know where everything is in the library right now, so it was a lot of fun, and I definitely recommended it to my sister, who will be doing it in a couple years, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.
I was told that you finished your hours before the end of the school year, which is not something that usually happens with the scholarship recipients, so that was very impressive. The library staff spoke volumes of what a great job you did and how big of a help you were, and they were very proud of the work that you did, and a bit sad that you couldn't help out over the summer. So, but it's wonderful. So what are your plans in the fall?
I'm going to a college in Vermont called St. Michael's College, and I'm going to study political science. So,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Does anybody have anything to ask Caleb or say?
How are your parents doing?
They're doing fine.
Tell your dad we said hello.
Sure. I actually saw his dad a few hours ago.
Yeah.
He said you thought 150 hours was a lot.
Well, it wasn't too bad, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. No.
Yeah, Caleb did a great job. We were really happy with him. He was awesome. Everybody loved him. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
And
Shoes to fill next year.
Yeah.
yes. And Sam, you're going to be in contact with Caleb with the wrap up of the scholarship requirements.
Right, we have to vote on it later, and then we'll have the check cut and sent to you, or
Okay.
we know how to get you. All right.
All right.
Great.
Is there? Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks,
See you
Caleb.
later.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Have a great rest of the summer.
I will.
Good luck in the
It
fall.
ends pretty quick.
Yeah, it's gone by.
Yeah.
All
See you
right.
Thank you. Good luck
Good
in
evening.
Vermont. Okay. Let's move on to correspondence. Do we have any?
No.
Okay. Approval of minutes from June 7th, 2018.
Next, that you had some corrections to make sure that you had
I
shared.
did.
Yeah, and I believe I made the.
Okay, you made. Okay.
Sam did make the edits, and is that those new corrections on the website?
Yeah,
yet?
usually
Okay.
I wait for you guys to approve them.
Were there any additional corrections that people felt are needed for these minutes before we approve them?
I'll motion to approve if nobody has any.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes have been approved. Let's move on to the treasurer's report.
Okay, you all have the Bartholomew. Okay, and this was sent in the beginning of July. This meeting that we're having tonight is the 26th, so this is the last Bartholomew report that was available. The next one won't be for a couple of weeks yet. Okay, and as of a day ago, the MMDT operating balance is $1,240.22, and MMDT building fund is $414,536.93.
What was the MMP?
The operating, $1,240.22.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Okay.
Oh, and there was also a stock adjustment, I don't know how you'd say that,
I'm not sure.
okay. We had a donation of stock that's being added, but is not added yet, I don't believe.
Okay, so we can discuss it in September's meeting. It will be on the
Yeah, should be,
report?
yes.
Okay. Would anyone else like to comment on the treasurer's report before we move on? Okay, Friends report.
We need to accept the report?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Do we?
No? Okay.
Friends didn't meet this month.
Okay, I didn't know. When is their next meeting?
Next month. I believe it's the third Wednesday, which is,
28th, I think was, is that?
no, that's
No, it's awareness.
that's public awareness. The 15th, August 15th.
August 15th is the next Friends meeting. Okay. Okay, fundraising committee report.
I wasn't there as the representative last night. Were we able to go?
I went and Sam
And-
went, yes.
I apologize for not being able to be there.
Do you want me to speak about it?
Sure. So in the fundraising committee report, we discussed a few things. We discussed a RHL brochure, which I'm not going to go into detail about because Chris and I will discuss that in the Public Awareness Committee agenda item. We mostly spoke about the next fundraiser that we are planning to do, which is a venue either at a art gallery or the Orange Door restaurant, where there will be drinks and I'm trying to-
Appetizers and.
Right.
Right.
We're hoping to get at least 60 people in attendance, and
Mhm.
it's just a capital campaign fundraiser for people who wish to donate to the new building and to, again, speak to these potential donors about what we are planning on doing with the new building and how their support could greatly help us.
Right.
Is there anything else to add?
Yeah, Sarah, through the Friends, purchased Little Green Light, which is a database where they can keep track of donors and how much they donate, how often they donate. There's a bunch of other stuff they can do with it, but yeah, they're using that now. What else? They talked about the 250 houses for $1,000 pledge, which they would like to start in the summer. And I think that was it. The next meeting's on August 20th.
Another thing that I forgot to add, which does not need to be decided tonight, the money that would have to be spent to book this venue, whether it be at the Art Gallery in West Acton or the Orange Door, would either be funded by the Friends or the trustees. And that would be something that we would have to discuss if we, as trustees, want to give the money, or it's something that we feel like the Friends should take care of. So I'm assuming that after August 20th, we'll have a clearer idea of how much money they will have to spend for this event, and then we could bring it before meeting.
They're still trying to determine the location. Is that sort of the?
Right.
The location and the pricing, yes. I have nothing else to add.
Me too.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the Public Awareness Committee.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yes, Chris.
So Dimitri and I have been meeting with a small group, including Sam and Amy Tarlow-Lewis and
Julie.
Julie Fredrickson and I can't remember, is that it? I guess that's,
Yeah.
oh, and maybe, I can't, Yolanta?
No.
I feel like we've been.
I think she wants to be in it, but
I think it's been a couple, we've only had a couple meetings.
Yeah.
And we have been talking about raising awareness about the library in general. And one of the things that it's been working on was this little brochure that will provide information, sort of basic information about the library project. The Friends received a small grant to fund some publications, and so I've been working a little bit with Amy and also with Katie and with Demetra with language and wording, and we're getting closer, and Sam as well. We're getting a little, I don't know exactly what the timeline is for completion. It was actually like, we really wanted it to be completed a couple of weeks ago, but then things changed with
They want to hit by third Thursday, or at least by the fall fair.
Yeah, so we want to be able to have it available to give out to people, but we also make sure that it's correct. So there's sort of like that sort of twofold. But it's getting closer, and I think getting closer to having it ready to go back to the designer who will sort of put it into a format that we can kind of look at and see. That's been the kind of the primary focus of that group, so
Right.
getting that publication completed. I just looked at another draft of it yesterday, so we're getting closer. Have pictures picked out, we have some quotes picked out.
We touched briefly on the need to make awareness known through social media, through spots through LCTV, but we've made no decisions yet. We have been mostly focusing on this brochure. What I would like is if another trustee could come onto this committee with us, because Chris is on the fundraising committee, and since she's going to be going back and forth, it might be a little bit fatiguing.
I think David was interested.
Yeah, so if, David, if you would want to come. Our next meeting is on August 28th, and we're going to try to have set meetings, and I don't know why I don't have it written down here. Was it every second or third Tuesday of the month?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I apologize that I don't have this listed here, but August 28th is obviously not the second or third Tuesday of the month, but that is the next time we're going to be meeting.
I think that was it.
Okay. Okay, trustee updates. So, David, would we start on your end? Do you have any updates for?
Well, I thought maybe our meeting was gonna run long, but probably will later. No, I was gonna just mention that, we're all aware that the town administrator is retiring. Okay, it's interesting to see how that is gonna go and who's gonna be the new one. And also that the town sewer, the smart sewer plan has got a grant from the state, or rather a bond in the works, so to speak, for $6 million that's coming down the line. That's all I have.
I was at the town needs assessment meeting on Wednesday night. We are putting together an RFQ to hire an OPM to design a new campus here with the library on the slope and a senior center and new town offices potentially. So the goal is to get the RFQ to the selectmen for their August 13th meeting, in which time they'll hire the OPM and then proceed through the same path we did with then hiring an architect design firm. The goal is to have something which will probably be fairly loosely defined, not completely polished and not costed out, ready for the May town meeting. Or if we go for the library share of the money, then at least there is a plan for what the rest of the building would happen. Though it probably will not, it most likely will not be a finalized plan, and most likely will not be costed out at that point. The timeline's just too tight. So, the goal is to have an OPM on board somewhere by the time you have to do the contract and bidding and everything, you're talking mid-October, optimistically, so, and then you have to hire the architect, so you don't have a whole lot of time. So the select, I believe at town meeting, it was voted at like $200,000 to do this, design work, so the select didn't have that money to spend for this.
That's gonna be this fall's meeting, they're gonna do that?
No,
Or
they've
the-
already voted. The selectmen already have that money.
I missed
So
that.
the needs assessment is asking the selectmen to hire this person to work with us.
Okay.
I really don't have anything.
Okay.
I went to one library, it was in Brussels, it was big. That's really all I have to say. It's far bigger than ours.
You look well rested.
Do I? You do. I'm glad.
How is a European library different than an American one?
Well, the one in Brussels was gigantic. I don't think they're fundamentally all that different. They're probably pretty standard. You walk in, there's a desk, you ask a question, they point you to where the bathroom is. That's pretty much what the deal is. I figured I was safe asking for a public laboratory in a public library, and I was.
Oh, it's good to know that, you know, they're not that different than our libraries, because I've heard some stories of these fabulous libraries in Europe, and I'm jealous, but okay.
Well, I'm going, my family's going to London, so I'll let you know what that one looks like.
Sarah was
They
in the
look like
library
libraries
in
there.
Vienna and said it was amazing. So.
Yeah.
But it's also very well known for that. So.
Well, today we had our senior event at the library.
Oh, how'd that go?
Wendy Glick performed today for an audience primarily of seniors. We had a few grandchildren that were there for a little while. We served refreshments, and it was a lot of fun. Sam and Helen were down there with me, and I don't know, what did you two think?
I thought she gave an awful lot of time for that amount of money. It wasn't the usual 45 minutes. I think that an hour and a half was,
Yeah.
pretty generous of her time.
I think she did a good job, and everybody seemed to like it. I heard a lot of people saying they really enjoyed it
Yeah.
as they were leaving. A lot of people thanked me for it.
Yeah. Maybe we can do it again, because word of mouth.
Yeah, Liz, so we did it in collaboration with the COA, and so the director, Liz, she came up, she was also there. She said she would love to do something like this again.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess they don't get a lot of attendance at some of their programs either, so I think maybe we had more than she would usually have, so. Yeah. I think it went well.
Great, congratulations. So I think we've had two third Thursdays since our last meeting. So I've been to both of them in combining my role as a trustee as well as my role as a local author. So I've been working, not working, but hanging out at the Silver Unicorn bookstore table and also hanging out at the library table, kind of splitting my time. But they've been really well attended. It's been really two very beautiful evenings, one in, both in June and July, and it's been really fun to sort of see. And it's very like, Gilmore Girls, small town stuff. And I just love it. I sit there and like love my town when I see all this stuff happening. So that's been a lot of fun. And Yolanda's been amazing. Yolanda Davis has been amazing, really running those two events for the library booth and answering lots of questions and really being there. I mean, I was sort of breezing in and breezing out again, and she was really there for the whole time. So I'm going to give her credit for that.
Did the banner make it?
Yes, I believe it
Was too
did.
big? 'Cause
Yeah, no, I think
it
it
felt
did.
kind of big in this room.
It definitely did. Yeah, and I don't remember thinking it was too big.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
Okay.
I think the first one there was some issues with wind, and so she has that trifold with the
Yeah.
and trying to have it taped down and not fall over and stuff, but, you know,
We-
answering lots of
We have to
questions
work on
and,
that.
yeah,
We have to work. It keeps falling down.
yeah.
We have to work on that.
But she, you know, is bringing books that she can give away to people. It's been really fun. And we've had a sort of a number of volunteers, from the Friends kind of come and hang out as well. And David's been great bringing helping with setup and breakdown. And so that's been great. Just also kudos to the library staff for the summer reading program. My daughter is doing the YA program and has to come down and get her tickets and get her freebie stuff, and has a stack of books this big that she's reading. So that's been fun also. And then I'm working with Amy to get that trifold brochure sort of finished and communicating with those folks a little bit. So good.
Okay. Gonna move on to director's report.
Okay. So I'm actually going to skip the first thing since that's coming up under new business later. We received 27 applicants for the 6-hour library assistant position
Oh
we
my
posted.
gosh. That's awesome.
Yeah, so Helen, Andy, and I sort of narrowed it down to 5 applicants to interview. We had some good ones, some not so good ones, but we had actually narrowed it down to a few people that we really liked, and we ended up giving it to Jen Hamilton, who's been our intern upstairs. She was great. We thought she was really well qualified for the position. So she will be starting probably at the beginning of August. Yes, we had an issue with a leak in the bathroom downstairs. It was in the walls, so it wasn't actually the bathroom. It turned out to be one of the drains just needed to be snaked, and it's like building up. But it was creating puddles in both sides of both bathrooms, and also on the other side of the bathroom wall. George took a lot of time to figure it out. He was cutting into the walls, and we had a lot of different theories about it, but finally he figured it out and they fixed it. It's still, one of the bathrooms is still out of commission, but it's mostly just because we're trying to watch it more than anything, because that's the side where the problem was.
Did the leak damage anything?
No. We dried. It was the carpet on the other side of the bathroom wall. There was a little wet spot, but we had a fan on it for a few days. Yes. The library, we won the town's Fitbit challenge.
All right.
Yeah, mostly thanks to Ken Haddock. He did most of the walking. But our prize was a lunch cooked by Bill Bradley, a nutritionist and author. It was really good. He made us, what did he make us? Some salads.
Mediterranean salads and,
Mediterranean
yeah.
food, and yeah, it was good.
Do we have his book in the library?
I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Taste of Crete, is it, or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
You should display it
Like
and
feature.
brag.
Well, no,
that the library won.
We have $1,000 prize.
Yeah, and they
What's
still haven't
wrong- what's-
contacted us.
No?
Yeah, I'll have to
Yeah.
talk to them about it.
That we
So,
have to decide how
yeah.
to,
Yeah, we get $1,000 to do something healthy as a group.
Like go to the Happy Chocolatier.
That's
Yeah.
how
The
many?
mental health, that's
How many
that's good.
people are prize winners?
I think there are 9 of us.
You should
yeah.
go for massages.
Some people don't like
Some people
massages.
like being touched
Yes.
by strangers.
Right.
All right. Don't go
Diane
for
and I both
massages.
were like, no.
Something else that's not on here that just sort of happened was, so Joe Boransky, he's the Veterans Affairs,
Yeah.
he's kind of getting kicked out of his office. So they've asked if if he can use the small meeting room.
Oh, he's being relocated.
He's being
He's not being
relocated.
fired.
No,
Oh,
he's just
okay.
being asked to relocate where he works.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the only real space in the whole building was our small meeting room because he meets mostly when we're closed. So I agreed to let him use that space. He's gonna have like a rolling desk, and they're gonna install a phone in there for him. And
This is the one that faces the front, that little one there?
no, the one downstairs.
Oh, downstairs, okay.
Yeah, and they're gonna change the door that's there. That's an emergency exit onto the town side. They're gonna change that out so that it's a regular door, so that his clients can come in through there.
Great.
His office is gonna be the small meeting room?
Basically.
Basically, for a few hours every Monday and Thursday.
You mean like that movie in Office Space where they just keep moving that guy
Yeah.
down and eventually he's in
Basically,
pieces?
yeah.
But how is that
Wednesday
going
night.
to affect the availability?
So Thursdays it won't affect it at all because we're closed until 1 anyway.
Okay.
He gets out of there by 12. It's like 8 to 12.
Okay.
And then Mondays, it'll only be for 2 hours, and nobody's in there from
Okay.
10 to 12 anyway. So I didn't think it would impact us at all. So I told him that it was okay.
Do we need to move things out of there for him, or?
No, they're just gonna install a phone, and then he's gonna have like a little laptop on a rolly thing, I guess. Nancy's gonna, our IT director is gonna set it up for him. So
Where's he gonna be able to store that when he's not using it?
I don't know if they thought that far, to be honest. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think it's that big. We could probably find a place for it too.
There's probably room in the storage area
Yeah.
now that we have the dungeons here.
Yeah.
Dungeon sale.
Yeah, so that's one thing that we added. And then as far as programming goes, Diane reports children summer reading is going really well. Teen and adult programs are also going well. We've had 2 adult music programs. We had the Ukes ukulele program, and that was in the multi-purpose room, and we had about 50 people come to that. It was really well attended. Everybody liked it. I showed The Greatest Showman as a movie, and mostly had kids come, which I wasn't expecting. But it worked. They were very well behaved. They were all really...
Meeting third Thursday to come to the library for the
Yeah,
movie.
they were all like kids that I usually see running all around. They were just sitting there, just like watching. They were really good. And then today we had Wendy Glick, as Dimitra mentioned, and tomorrow night we have Joe Leary. He's doing acoustic classics at 7 o'clock in the Cooper Room.
Didn't he come last year or?
Yeah, he did Irish.
The Celtic
And
songs.
he's very popular, right?
He's really, yeah.
So we just started the new fiscal year. So we have spent money, but we're still figuring out Munis, our new financial software system, which has not been fun.
Munis sounds like mucus.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's not
There's probably a
great.
reason for it. They're
Yeah.
both not very
Yeah.
helpful.
So we've learned we have to create requisitions with it now, so that was the learning process, and now how to pay the invoices. So tomorrow Susan's gonna get a tutorial, and she did do one packet, but we need some more help with that, so we're gonna be doing that.
How did we end up on last fiscal year? Were we giving money back even?
We gave back $4,000 in payroll. Yeah.
And we're pretty much right on materials, or?
Yeah, we were right on materials. Everything else was right on. Yeah, yeah. We reached the mark, so that's fine. A little more than the mark, actually. Yeah, so the rest is just the stats.
So Jean's really losing the notary.
Yeah, Jean's been busy.
2 things that I wanted to bring up. A friend of mine a few weeks ago was going away and asked if the library had a hotspot.
Mhm.
And you do have one,
Mhm.
but it's always out.
Yeah.
Now, I came to the library and I noticed that you have all these Kindles that nobody ever checks out, but only one hotspot. Is there any way to get more?
Yeah, so the hotspot, since it's a Verizon account, it's technically done through the town.
Okay.
So I did ask our IT director, Nancy, if she would get us another hotspot. She said she would, but she's a very busy woman, so I know she's working on it. But yeah, the plan is to get a second one, because it is pretty popular.
Honestly, I didn't know what it was when she told me that, but I think it's amazing that you could just bring this anywhere and you could get internet.
Mhm.
It has to be some, it doesn't go work anywhere, like if you're in the remote parts of
Okay.
Maine that doesn't have, cell phone towers, you won't. But most places I've taken it, it's been wonderful. Yeah. And it's not our purchasing, it's really because of the town, it's like buying a cell phone,
Right.
you know?
Because my friend had said that the Burlington Library has 3 of them,
Mhm.
and they're always checked out during the summer, so.
Yeah, they said they would get us one. It's just
Yeah.
gonna take time.
And I also wanted to make a comment about the young adult reading program. This is the first year that my daughter is doing the young adult program. She's going into 6th grade, and she opted to do that instead of last year in the children's. She loves the program. It is. She thinks it is so fun to log in her hours online. And every day that you check out a book, you get a scratch-off raffle ticket, and you can win a prize, or you can enter your raffle ticket into the drawing that they're going to have at the end of the summer. And she has won so much candy and shoelaces, and she just loves it. She says you guys have excellent candy.
Yeah.
So I mean, thank you, and is Jenna the
Yeah,
one?
it's Jenna
who-
and Catherine, they've
Jenna
done
and
great.
Catherine, thank you to them, because they're really making this fun for her. So,
Great.
and probably other teens that are participating in the program.
Okay, so that was it for me.
Anything else on the director's report? Okay, we're gonna move on to old business. I'm gonna address the annual fund drive letter. Chris was kind enough to look it over the last minute and make some alterations based on the document that Sarah Rombacher was working on with the 250 households for $1,000, and Chris is going to I guess
Yeah,
talk about.
really, all I did was I took the one that I had, the old one, and I took Sarah's notes. And I really didn't, I sort of wordsmithed. I didn't really create any new content. I just sort of like molded the two things together. I do have my computer with me, so if people have changes, we can kind of just do them right, kind of live. But if you guys want to look through it and.
You have another?
we should
Oh,
put
I'm
scanners?
sorry. This is just the, did I give it to
Henry,
you?
do you have a copy?
I have it.
Oh, maybe it's different.
No, it looks different there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
Oh,
Okay. The one I left for Katie here. Yes, the one that you have is the one that the draft that I
Okay.
had, and then I had the one that Sarah had
okay.
worked on. And I kind of, like I said, I kind of combined the two to kind of, but I didn't put any formatting on it. I know there's a letterhead there. I didn't do any of that. I just kind of went with straight text. And I did like in the one, I had the one from the 7th annual. Was that last year or was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
It seemed like the names were not us, so I thought it was probably 2 years ago. So
I
this
feel
would be
like-
the 9th?
Yeah, I feel like, Jenna, didn't you work on a draft last year? I feel like you did a draft.
I'm sure there was a different
Yeah,
one than this,
because-
because all the
yeah.
names got changed, right? There had to have been
Yeah,
something
I-
else that we sent out.
I just didn't, I sent out that because I didn't have, but I couldn't find a copy of the 8th annual one on my
Yeah.
computer.
So
Yeah, I couldn't find
we're
that
on
either.
9th.
Yeah.
Right, so this is the 9th. But we can pull that.
Okay.
Basically, what happened was this was a PDF that I had, and so when I tried to open it, it messed the formatting up. So that's why I just kind of stuck with
Mhm.
this, and then figured we could reformat it with the rip-off stuff later. I feel like I've written so much of this so many times with what I'm working on with Amy that some of this is a little bit repetitive from that document, so I don't know how much of a problem that is, if people think that's a problem. I mean, it's the same information, we're just trying to
Mhm.
regurgitate it in different ways.
Don't you think that there's a certain odd coincidence that if you take 4 years or take 365 days and multiply it by 4 years, it's basically 01460?
It's fate.
It's weird,
It's
isn't it?
weird. It's weird.
We're not counting the leap year, which I'm sure occurs during this time,
I'm
but
pretty sure they did the math and came up with 68 cents because of that, but maybe not, maybe it was completely coincidental.
In the letter, it speaks that there's multiple ways you could donate, and you could donate to the RHL's Building Community 01460, or you could just put in any donation, or you can schedule your pledge. On this 7th annual letter, you know, they have on the bottom different amounts that you can contribute. I'm just wondering what everybody thinks about how to make this more apparent to somebody who receives this letter at home. And they read this and they're like, okay, I want to give money, but I'm not quite sure what this letter is asking me. Do they want me to donate this to this building, Community 01460, or can I just give anything?
I assume the thing on the front will.
It's gonna have this.
It's going to,
Yes.
okay.
It will be
All right.
there with the possible addition of pledging X over.
Okay.
I mean, I think the 68 cents per day is like, that's a guide. Obviously, no one, you're
Okay.
not gonna give
Right.
68 cents a day. It's gonna be some kind of a, you know.
Right.
Really? You're not
I
gonna
mean,
be
you could.
counting that out for people?
Digging the change out of my couch. I mean, that's obviously, that's to minimize, you know, to sort of show that it really is a minimal,
Right.
you know, a minimal expense to people.
All right, so there will be options at the bottom of the letter as to how you want to contribute as a donor to this, or how you want to donate money. In this letter, it says schedule your pledge at, and obviously you don't have a directive
Yeah,
for
that's
that.
gonna be, I think that Sarah was working on that, what
Okay.
that,
Will she have that ready by the time that we decide to mail this letter?
She has
I
to
assume
or
so.
give- Or, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean,
Or
the
there'll be
pledge
another
could
way to do it.
Or the pledge will just be something
Okay.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay. I'm just
I mean, I
checking
think
off
it
all the
makes
boxes,
sense
that's
to have an option to mail it in, but also have an online option, because I think really if we need to have an online option for making a donation.
In this, we're planning on having it look like this as it has in past
think
years.
so. Do you have this as a Word
All right.
document, by the way?
Because we should do a Word.
I have that as a Word
I-
document.
Do you have it as
I
a
do
Word
too,
document?
yeah.
Okay.
I have the 8th one too.
Because I didn't have that formatting, so that's why it
Yeah.
looks like this. So I
Um,
can absolutely make it look like that.
We should probably try to keep the word count about the same, you know, so it fits nicely. And I can check on the 8th annual one, what the word count was. Do you know what your word count is from this to before the valediction here?
I have it in Google Doc. It
Okay,
doesn't
so
tell
don't worry
me
about it now,
yet,
but I think that we should try to
Yeah,
have it
aligned
you're right, 'cause-
similarly.
yeah,
I mean, this
because
is a smaller font on this one,
Yeah.
so I can
it's
play a
about
little
the
bit with
same.
that. If you can send me if you have it as a Word doc,
I do, yeah,
I
yeah.
can.
Yeah. Actually, maybe it is about the same now that I'm looking side by side. Well, we'll see. I'll let you know.
Something really minor.
Yeah.
Where it says, in the paragraph where it says make a donation of 68 cents a day, when you get down through there, all contributors to RHL's building community 01460, that should probably be bold like it was above that,
Oh, sure. I
so
can.
it
Yeah.
sticks out better,
I
make
think
that
I
bold.
think that's a good idea.
And why is one hashtag and one is not?
That's a good question, actually. I think it's hashtag. I think
Yeah.
that's part of the
The drive.
part of
Yeah,
the
okay.
brand is the hashtag.
That was a good catch, so we should have them both be the same.
That's
The first paragraph, this quote from 2017's, it's all one sentence, and I feel like it's too long of a
Okay.
sentence. I like what's said here, but is there any way that we could just break it up into?
Well, it's two sentences, but
Okay, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Right. Oh,
But yeah.
well,
The
then I'm
list
looking
of
at the
the
last
list of
sentence.
things, like the
Yeah.
amazing selection,
Yeah,
like
books
all
and
that's
media,
all
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
one.
can we
That's
break
one
that?
line.
Can we break up that line to be 2 lines? Maybe just.
I don't know, I kinda liked it.
It's just from an amazing selection of books and media to free internet access and a quiet place to work to a night full of children reading past their bedtime or library mini golf. The RHL is truly a place for all residents of Littleton to create their very best memories.
Oh, I like it.
I mean, if everybody likes it, I think we keep it.
You just have to take a deep breath.
Read it out loud, yeah.
Kids, listen to this.
One thing it's got going for it is it lists so much stuff that we do. you know, and to me, it just kind of fits.
So I have a problem with a little bit in the following paragraph where I don't think we should say how big the current library is, and I don't know if we wanna say, we just wanna say the library is bigger, right, and can meet
Sure.
our needs.
Yeah.
Cause now you're boxing in,
I could just take out that sentence, dedicated library space
Yeah.
will increase.
Yeah.
We can say it's 33% larger.
you can
and
say our
then-
new library will increase and library space will, I mean, you can merge it with the sentence after it, and will be full ADA. You know, we'll have more space, we'll be ADA compliant, right? You can just do it that way, you don't have to say, you know, you don't wanna get into the specifics, right?
Yeah. I mean, despite the fact that the plan will be for a two-floor library to eliminate the issues with 3 floors, and despite the fact that we need to be about 22,000 square feet, I agree. Those,
It's
Those
not really, it doesn't belong in a
details-
fundraising.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
those are.
I hear you. Okay, so I'm gonna say, we wanna say it's gonna be larger though, right?
Could,
Some kind of
can we
relative.
even take out the percentage? Could you just say Littleton plans to build a bigger and
Yeah,
better
a
library?
larger library, which will be,
How about as a
Hopefully-
result of this award, Littleton plans to build a 33% larger library with 2 floors instead of 3? And stop right there. Take all those 16,000 square foot. It's just 33% larger library on 2 floors instead of 3.
You could just say, as a result of the reward, Littleton will build a larger library,
Which will be fully
which will be fully ADA.
compliant.
I don't think, I mean, the 5.8 million I think is great.
Yep.
The 48% of the cost is great, but the other numbers I don't think.
too much information. All right, so what I've got is,
Yeah.
as a result of this award, Littleton will build a larger library, which will be fully ADA compliant, LEED certified, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
That's
And then
good.
stop in or visit our website to see the preliminary designs and give feedback.
And that website there, that'll be a live link?
No, cause it's gonna be a letter you're putting out.
Oh, that's right. True.
Is that our updated page?
Or could the color be different at least?
I can make the color different.
And,
No, we
Well,
can-
it's not gonna be a color copy, though.
It could be
It could be bold,
It could be
yeah.
bold.
Bolded.
at the littletonlibraryproject.org, the preliminary designs are there. Is there a place to give feedback currently?
Mhm.
Okay, so is there a way, Chris, that that you can wordsmith to put those last 2 sentences into one? Like, stop by the library or visit to see the preliminary designs, which can be customized to meet our needs. We want your input, please give feedback, or you like to sort
Sure.
of consolidate that maybe just a little bit.
In the paragraph that says, starts with make a donation of, the third line says, if only 250 homes are willing to make this gift, together we can raise 250,000. Do we really wanna say only,
Yeah,
I thought it was
yeah, no, I don't think
or willing, if 250 homes
Mhm.
make this gift?
make this
we-
commitment, or make this gift?
Yeah, make
Two
this
hundred and
donation,
fifty households or homes?
homes
Huh.
is fine.
Homes. If 250 homes make this gift, together we can raise $250,000.
Mhm.
How about just $250,000 will be raised?
Mm.
You'd like it to be active, right?
No, I agree, but then the together sounds like it's limiting to only those 250 people.
How about we just take out together? If 250 homes make this
Sure.
gift, we can raise $250,000.
Yeah.
Or we raise.
We will
We
raise.
will raise. We will raise.
If the math
But we
works
can't
out.
do it without you.
Yeah.
All contributions, all contributors will be recognized in the new library building. I feel like, well,
So the hashtag is before building community 01460.
Yes.
Do we need the RHL apostrophe S then? Isn't that implied in some ways that it's all about the library?
I'm not sure if that's the branding, like if that's what
Yeah,
it's
okay.
called.
Yeah,
that.
all right.
I'm gonna bold, the website appears again below. I'm gonna bold it again there.
I like that last line in that paragraph a lot.
Yeah. So what I can do is sort of make the other change, make some of these other changes. I'm just making notes here, and I can share it with everybody.
Yeah.
And then we can do some formatting. What's the goal for getting this out? Like, when do we want to get this?
Yes, that's
Out.
what I wanted to discuss. When are we gonna get this out, and do we have some quotes, Mark, on mailing and?
I have contacted Printing Solutions in Westford,
Okay.
and we've been going back and forth on it, and I'm not sure they understand exactly what we're asking for yet, so I do not have a quote yet. I'm working on it.
But
If anyone has
it's
anyone else,
been-
we should,
It's been pretty reasonable.
Printing Solutions was a lot more than CDL.
Oh, was it last year?
CDL doesn't
Okay.
do printing anymore, they just do mailings. So I can also, look at some other places if anyone has
Oh, I
ideas.
have a suggestion for someone.
So,
I can-
So on our September meeting, could we take a look at a finalized draft, approve it, and then hopefully send out the mailing that September?
yes, I think that's a reason.
Okay.
I'm not suggesting editing it right now, but it would be nice to somehow get the 4 years to, you know, the pledge in here. Like, it's in that one paragraph, but it would be nice to repeat it somewhere again later, you know, 4 years, 250, 1,000.
Right.
equals.
So kind of with the,
Kind of like towards the end,
Sure,
like,
that- yeah.
And maybe the tear off at the bottom also has that I pledge.
right, yeah,
And one of the, I mean, we could have the pledge, and one option is to write in your own, or you could check I pledge, you know, 250 a year
this,
for 4
I
years.
pledge this, yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you, I will work on that formatting
Okay.
when we,
I will send you this letter, and Jenna, I think, has the other one,
Yep.
so,
yeah, because I'll just pull the,
Can you CC me on that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I just sent you the code. Fees and Shimoni.
Does anybody want to make any more comments about the annual fund drive letter? Okay, then we're gonna table it and finalize it for our September meeting. Moving on to library service charges policy. Now, if you are viewing this meeting from home, you'll notice at the bottom of your screen a web address for the Reuben Hoare Library. If you would like to follow along with the policy changes that we're going to be addressing tonight, all you have to do is go to that website, hit the tab About Us, and in that tab, there's a section called Policies. You click on Policies, you go to page 10, section B, and what we are discussing at this time is service charges and fines. In the policy packet, you'll find this on page 10. And Sam, I'm gonna,
So at the last meeting, I had requested that we eliminate service charges. It's creating a headache for MVLC and our other libraries, basically, and basically it's not really something we do that often and don't really need to do. So we'd like to eliminate it, so we'd need to change the language in the policy to reflect that. So,
the whole complete section?
I think we can just get rid of the part that says $8.
That one sentence,
Yeah,
when materials 5 weeks overdue.
yeah, I don't want to get rid of, I don't think we should get rid of number 3. Not sure, what do you,
Keep number 3?
yeah. I'd like to, if the book is never returned, I'd like some way of getting it back and getting it paid for.
right.
But I don't, usually that's very rare that happens, so.
So when a material is 5 weeks overdue, are you suspending borrowing
it says that borrower.
Right, just taking
I'm
out the
asking
service
her
charge.
just-
Okay.
So is it, when a material is 5 weeks overdue, the patient's borrowing privileges are suspended?
So I think when a material is 5 weeks overdue, we should send another notice warning them, and at that point, suspend their borrowing privileges.
Okay, so we're just changing B number 2, and the sentence should read, the paragraph then reads, overdue notices are sent when material is 2 weeks and 1 day overdue. When material is 5 weeks overdue, the patron's borrowing privileges are suspended until the materials are returned.
Right.
Or paid for.
There's no paid.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I was misinterpreting
runs
as
into
as if they
sentence.
lost it. Okay.
Or are paid for, right, I guess.
That should probably be a new paragraph, right? You've got no fines, 2 weeks, 5 weeks,
Okay.
Right, so maybe that's
9
number
weeks,
3.
13 weeks,
Alright.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
they're enumerated separately then.
So number 3, when material is 5 weeks overdue. Okay.
And then that changes the next one to number 4 and
Yeah.
number
Number
6.
4 would move up to, number 3 would move up to number 4,
Right,
and so on,
right.
and 4 would be 5.
Wait, so.
Well,
wait,
actually,
no.
lost and damaged would be a different,
Wait, I got lost here. What are you saying now? We're striking number 2 altogether?
no, so, but it's, it should be a different
In
heading.
the first sentence, that would be
As
2,
well.
and then 3 would
Oh.
be this one.
Okay, okay, fine.
And B needs to be changed because there are no service charges or fines. So that heading should be, policy relative to unreturned items. Or something, or just maybe just unreturned items, the whole thing's policy.
Overdue item.
Unreturned or lost items or something,
Just
Overdue.
items.
overdue.
So, the-
Overdue or lost items.
so, all right, what's the title gonna be?
Well, it should be overdue, lost, or damaged. Because if we're gonna keep the last enumerated paragraph, which is now 5, changed to 6, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Overdue, lost, or damaged?
What about stolen? What should we do about that?
On the old number 4, where it says borrow paperbacks with a replacement cost of less than $5, well, there's a comma that shouldn't be there, but that's,
Where is that?
are exempt from the ticket process. What is the ticket process? What are we saying? I don't know. Are they exempt from this process? I don't know what the ticket process, what the word ticket is supposed to mean there.
I don't either.
I assumed it was.
Well, maybe just are exempt from this
And
policy.
you know what, paperbacks don't cost $5 anymore, the cheapest ones I see come in around
I
between
was gonna
8 and
say,
10.
like more than
So,
that.
yeah,
Well,
so we could
Just
just strike
take
that whole line.
That whole line out.
I assumed, Mark, though, that if when it's turned over to Littleton Police Department, there was some kind of ticketing or some kind of process involved
Yeah,
with
but
the
you're
police.
now assuming what the police process is.
I don't know, what is like, you're gonna get arrested over like, I mean, like, I don't, what are the police doing? I assume they're issuing a ticket. Right? I don't know.
So the ticket, I think the ticket process refers to what's up in the other paragraph about,
Yeah, okay.
all that stuff, notification sent by certified mail. Includes a copy of GLC 266-100, which may be the ticket we're talking about.
Maybe, but because we don't know, it's just, I think it's fine just to axe that last
All right,
sentence.
so
That whole thing
please,
out.
please state the part that will be axed,
From paperbacks to the end of
that
that,
entire sentence?
yeah.
Okay.
So, on the line before where it says, is turned over to the Littleton Police, do we always do that?
It's only happened once since I've been here, and actually it happened before I even started here, so,
So it may be turned over, it's not,
Yeah.
it is turned over?
right.
Maybe turned over.
No matter maybe, okay.
Maybe?
have to apologize because I was looking at not an old agenda, but an agenda for tonight that hadn't been updated yet. So that's why I have us doing the service charges and fines first, because I see on the updated version that it's just general RHL policies under new business. So, is there anything else that anyone wants to comment on this particular section on page 10, section B, service charges and fines? Okay. Before we go on looking.
Wait, I
I'm sorry.
have, well, I have a general thing
Right.
that I would like to break this massive document into a bunch of little policies, because we keep changing part of these and don't update the massive document. So I say that we take this out of this document and make it its own policy document as a first-class citizen called overdue or late lost materials, right? And then as the year progresses, I'll take it on myself too. At our next meeting, or whenever we're gonna do it, I'll start breaking this big thing up into the policies that we haven't already done, and we can review them as one at a time, right?
This is what we did 4 years ago.
We did this 4 year, this is what we started to do 4 years ago, but we didn't actually finish it, I don't think.
This is only the
That
first 20
wasn't it.
pages.
Yeah.
Before then.
In
There are
the interest of
101.
time, we're breaking this
Yeah.
up.
I don't remember.
This was before then, yeah.
But these are an important 20 pages, and, you know, when I read them over, I said, wow, a lot of this stuff is way out of date, and I don't even think.
I agree with that entirely, I just
Yeah.
don't know if you want to, how we want to proceed on it.
But, and that's what I wanted to point out, is that, not point out, but ask, is after we amend a section, do you want to vote to approve the section, or do we have to wait until those changes are made, we look it over, and then we vote to approve on it?
So I would say we can approve that section, and if we want, we can update the one online to say, to just, we can go through and strike the sections that if we want
Okay.
online, one at a time, or,
Yes,
Okay. We were working on section B,
yes.
and we have just gone right past that. Okay, and I have not yet heard section B read in its entirety to make sure it's correct.
Okay.
so.
I think the secretary needs to read the whole thing,
Oh, do you have
because
it?
we're supposed to vote on it,
Okay.
Okay, I will
I'm
do
okay
that.
with that.
including the title of it.
Mhm.
Do you have it?
Yeah. Yeah, I can do it. Okay, so the policy is for overdue, lost, or damaged materials. No fines will be charged. Overdue notices are sent when material is 2 weeks and 1 day overdue. Item 3, when material is 5 weeks overdue, the patron's borrowing privileges are suspended until materials are returned or paid for. The accompanying letter cites relevant state and local laws and notifies the borrowers of the suspension of privileges. Item 4, when material is 9 weeks overdue, the patron is notified that unless the item is returned within the next 4 weeks, the matter will be turned over to the Littleton Police Department pursuant to
Maybe.
may be turned, the matter may be turned over to the Littleton Police Department pursuant to General Law, Chapter 266, what's the,
Section 100.
Section 10?
Yes,
Mhm.
100.
Section 100. The notification is sent by certified mail and includes a copy of that same law.
Mhm.
Do we want to keep the copy of it as found in an appendix?
No, I don't
think
think
it
you
should
need
be.
that.
Should strike that?
I don't think you need it. If someone wants to see a copy of it, it's readily available elsewhere.
Okay, so
I
strike
I mean,
it.
if we include
Online we
that,
can-
then we have to include it for, chapter
other-
77
every other
section.
one.
I mean,
In that case-
every other
In that
one.
case, the part in parentheses, have it read, a copy of GL chapter 266, section 100 is found in Mass General Laws.
But then
Well,
we
that's
have
true
to
of
do
all
that
of them.
every other place.
Okay.
Well, we can put a link into the online document to that law, but, When material is 13 weeks overdue, information about the delinquency may be turned over to the Littleton Police Department for action under the state law. Borrowing privileges remain suspended. Item 6, the library may charge up to the replacement cost of materials lost or returned in damaged condition.
That's good.
So would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to accept this change in the library's policy on service charges, which is now overdue, lost, or damaged materials in the entirety as was just read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I will send that text to you soon.
So we are going to now turn to the first page of the policies and go through section 1, mission statement, and section 2, governance. Governance also covers a subsection A for authority, B for election of members, C responsibilities, D officers.
Okay, so I don't think section 1, the mission, belongs as part of the policy. I think that's separate.
I agree.
And we do that all the time through our annual, through the reports we have to file with the state, we have to write mission statements. So I don't think it necessarily belongs here. And I think that section should be, just be stricken completely
Okay.
from policies.
I agree.
So we would have to, so we would have governance be 1.
Governments, governance will be the first policy we get.
So it'll be
So we're going to split this document
Okay.
up. Governance is a policy.
Okay.
So I guess, Mark, what you're saying is instead of having a book, a policy book, we will have
Individual
separate
chapters.
individual policies that can be, that we can vote on independently as opposed to the whole
Right.
document at once.
Yes, because we keep amending this, and it's a pain to keep updating
Yeah,
this big document
yeah.
and figuring it out.
And if you wanted to go online and look at these separate policies, they
They'll
would
be
just
all
be listed,
individual links.
and they can click on it, okay. Does anybody have any comments for the section on governance?
Okay, would that be numbered, would that be titled 1 now?
Yes. With a subsection or subheading, I'm not sure what you call it. A for authority, B election of members, C responsibilities, D officers, and E, no, keeps going, E meetings, F special committees, and G record retention.
So under officers, the treasurer, doesn't do a lot of the things listed as the treasurer anymore. So I don't know if the treasurer is authorized to transfer, receive, withdraw, or check on any funds and accounts credited to the board to execute stock or other investments. I think all of that goes away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because that's not done by us in some of this stuff.
So
The first line's okay,
As a treasurer.
and the last line's okay.
what does the, no, the treasurer doesn't submit an annual report to the town anymore either.
That's true.
But provides regular reports to the trustees regarding investments and expenditures of funds.
Yes.
Yes, but not manages funds.
No.
So the treasurer provides regular reports to the trustees regarding library investments, receipts, and expenditures.
Mhm.
The rest of that's junk, though, 'cause
All right, so everything gets struck from where it says the treasurer is authorized. Everything before that's okay and everything after?
Well, no, the part that says, okay, I'll read the whole treasurer section. The treasurer advises and assists on financial matters affecting the library. The treasurer provides regular reports to the trustees regarding library investments and receipts and expenditures from such funds.
Yep.
Okay, so you're taking out managers funds controlled by the
Yes.
trustees, okay, that's good. Okay. And then you're striking the next sentence after that?
I'm striking the rest of the paragraph.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And secretary,
And
Yes.
just as a question, we don't have deposit boxes anymore, do we say deposit boxes? Okay.
Does the secretary do any of this? That's what
I mean, None of it.
Yeah.
But the secretary keeps correspondence, right? I mean, there have been times where, as secretary, you've written a letter or responded to someone's letter.
All right, so,
So maybe the secretary is the,
Well, I think you have to keeps a true record of all the meetings, and we're just delegating that to Henry at the moment, since he's.
all right, then keeps a true record of all the meetings. I think you should say such, or this, I don't know, this record keeping may be delegated to a,
How about ensures?
that's even better, ensures. So you're saying you're Henry's supervisor?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Ensures that a true record of all meetings of the board is made. You don't post meetings. You don't submit an annual report. Okay. Ensures that a true.
And Mark is going to make the edits to these policies, so I'm wondering if something should be said to that effect, that when we have documents to edit.
I don't think that's
No,
the job
not-
of this
okay, all
secretary
right.
per se.
All right,
We
Just
have
checking.
no historian.
just trying to give you stuff.
We have no
Right.
historian.
Yeah.
Right, we'll strike out number 5. I also, I'm sorry, I wanted to ask about the first paragraph, just for continuity. It says, "The officers of the board are a chairperson, a treasurer, and a secretary." The officers of the board are a chairperson, a vice chairperson, a treasurer, and secretary. Why is vice chairperson left out, and can we put them in?
I bet that's a typo.
Because the chairperson is listed as number 2, but it's not.
Because the law only requires
Those are the
those
required.
three.
Oh, okay,
Those
okay.
are required, right?
Okay,
So-
Other additional officers
Are you
may
going to
desire.
insert
okay.
Vice chair?
I guess
Well,
not,
you
since,
refer to it in number 2, so.
right, that was my reason.
Or you could move vice chair to number 4. I'm sorry, yes, to 1, 2, 3, yes, you could move vice chair to or you could make vice chair underneath the chairperson. You know, put that under there too, or a separate one. The thing is, the law requires those 3 and only those 3.
And such other additional officers as the board may desire.
In fact, I don't think we even need vice chair in there at all. The general law, chapter 78, section 10, says that a board of library trustees must have a chair, a treasurer, and a secretary, right? And then there's this, oh, and you can add other people. I don't think we need to detail who all those others are that we add, right? We've regularly had a representative to
yeah,
the
you're right.
Friends and regularly have
So-
had.
and
so
those
just
are
leave it-
included.
leave it
So
like
just,
it is.
let's just detail those 3.
Okay,
I agree.
and strike out
Yeah, and strike
chairperson.
that.
So
Strike out vice
chairperson would be number 1, secretary would be number 2, and treasurer would be number 3.
Then we should switch treasurer and secretary in the first line.
Right. That
It
would be
doesn't-
good
doesn't
for
matter
continuity.
either way.
No, I agree, I had that on my notes too, because
Well, vice
it
is
bothers
out.
me, the order.
Vice is out.
So 3 becomes 2, and 4 becomes 3.
All right.
And 5 is out?
Should we have Mark read that
Well, I would-
entire
I would
before we
like-
go
I
on?
would
or-
like to, before he reads it, I would just like to ascertain for the record, that we are accepting governance, the paragraph under A, authority, B, election of members, C, responsibilities, and everything right down to where it says officers, because we blew right past that without saying it's okay. Are we accepting all of that?
I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I'm fine with them
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
All right, well,
Do you want to, should we do a motion on governance when we're done with the entire
the entire.
Yeah.
it of it?
Okay. For under meetings, section E, all meetings will be held under Robert's Rules of Order. Should we add a link so people can view what Robert's Rules of Order is?
We can add a link to whatever you want.
Okay. Well, since it's gonna be online on the website, I think we should add a link.
Okay. The first sentence under meetings, regular meetings are usually held monthly at a time and place. Can we strike usually?
Right.
They're held. That
Yes.
usually doesn't. And under open meetings, do we really have to say what the open meeting law is, or do we want to?
What do you mean?
So, all meetings of the board are subject to the state's open meeting law contained in general laws, blah, blah. Then we go into in particular, which basically says what the law is, right? So why do we wanna outline what the law is, rather than just let the law say what the law is?
I agree.
What are you saying?
I'm saying strike everything until the last sentence. Leave the first sentence and strike everything until,
Starting with in particular?
strike everything from in particular to all records.
So it would read, all meetings of the board are subjected to the state's open meeting law as contained in the,
Yep.
all that, and then all records of minutes of meetings are available in the library and the town's clerk office for public inspection.
Yeah, but that should probably be number 5.
Mm-hmm.
All records of minutes?
Yep.
Okay. So,
Five?
number 4 would only read, all meetings of the board are subject to the state's open meeting law as contained in the, and then all that
And number
general law stuff, and then,
Number 5 is all records of minutes of meeting are available in the library and the town clerk's office for public inspection.
and then number 6, parliamentary procedure, all meetings will be held under Robert's Rules of Order, link, URL link is.
www rules
Right.
Can I
online.
just ask a dumb question? Is there an actual link available to Robert's Rules?
I just
of Order?
found it, yeah. It's rulesonline.com.
Okay, cool.
I've read them, they're very thorough. My goodness, we're only on page 4. I didn't see anything to edit for F, special committees, or G, record retention. Does anyone else see anything in there?
I make a motion that we accept the now new enumerated first policy, which will be titled governance, from sections A through and inclusive of section G.
I second.
All in favor?
I
haven't got that well written.
We,
You're
we'll,
making a
we'll
motion.
clean it up.
You-
Oh, what I just said?
What am I gonna write in the
Sure.
minutes of the meeting?
Okay, I made a motion
Yeah,
to accept
yeah,
the new, titled, first policy governance from sections A through G as amended by the board. You're
So
welcome.
can we make that, I don't know how it says, a provisional, yes, we approve, and then when we see it finalized in print, we finally approve it? Because I didn't make all the
Sure.
changes. So I don't
Yeah,
really-
yeah. All right, so the motion, I'm gonna amend my motion to say that everything that I just said, pending final approval, upon review of the redrafted language.
Second.
I have a question. So this is only the first 20 pages. There's actually like 101 pages. So in the full version, at the very end, there's a place for the trustees to sign, and there's also a place for the town council to sign.
Yep.
Does anyone know if town council has to review this, or is that?
So, being on the school committee, they had individual policies that they reviewed regularly at their meetings that were not signed by anyone,
Okay,
so.
I'm just wondering.
Okay. That doesn't make it right.
And I don't believe this the Board of Selectmen have policies too, I don't think they're signed by anyone.
Okay.
Well, the document that's online isn't signed by anyone anyway, so there's just blank.
Right, okay.
So on page 5, listed as section 3, we have participative management.
I'm fine with this section.
So am I.
Mhm. I have no issues with it either. Yep. Okay, then, you ready, Henry?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that the, Roman numeral 2 participative, what do you say that?
Participative?
Participative?
Yes.
Roman numeral 3.
Well, it's now
Yeah.
2.
So it's gonna be its own chapter, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, fine. Be, that remain unchanged, after, how can I say that?
We approve the policy.
We
as amended.
reapprove it as it being,
As
right,
written.
as written. We like it. I
I'll
don't even
second
know,
what
I
she
don't
has
even know if
said.
we should have a motion
Yeah.
about that. Nothing is changing, Henry.
as written. I question what you said, Roman numeral 2.
Well, that's because it's changed, everything's
This is
moved up,
three, It's moving down one.
3 is now 2.
right?
So
So,
we approve everything down to,
Okay.
this whole thing we approve right there.
Is it
Yeah.
easier if I just
Yeah.
refer to it by its new Roman numeral?
No,
Okay.
because you're not gonna have Roman numerals, we're gonna do separate.
Okay,
okay,
all right.
so these don't, we're just taking those out altogether, okay.
Who seconded that motion? That
I did.
was.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So then Roman numeral 4, as listed, responsibility guidelines. I don't have a problem with it.
I do.
Changing it to 3?
Wait, what
Don't worry
happened?
about the number.
Yeah.
What about the number?
Are we at use of the library?
No, we
Where are
don't.
When
you?
we talk about it, how do we talk?
We're gonna talk about it about the current
Page
number.
5, oh,
In the future, they won't have numbers because they'll be separate. So it's number 4
Oh.
right now.
I jumped
I have a
ahead.
problem with the last line because I'm not sure what it's referring to.
Okay.
This, we talk about the responsibilities of the board and the responsibility of the director, and then we say this responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know whose responsibility that is.
Okay, so, just for Henry's sake in mind, we're gonna leave number 4, be in number 4, and then all of a sudden that number's gonna go away?
No, yes,
Yes. Because
There won't be a number 3, there won't be anything,
there won't be,
right.
none of these will have a number, they're going to be separate documents.
okay?
So we strike.
Sorry, my references and my motions to any sort of numbers and Roman numerals is unnecessary. I didn't realize that we were eliminating all
Yeah,
of
but
the,
I'm looking at a document which
Right.
has value in numbers. So
Sure.
when I refer to it in some other language,
right.
how do we compare them? That's my.
I think just by the bold, all caps,
Okay.
those are gonna be the
So each of
policies.
these is gonna be
So-
a separate policy.
Yeah.
Yes. So I recommend we skip number 4 for the moment until we can figure out, work out, maybe Sam and I or Demetri and I will work out what number 4 really
Okay.
means.
Mhm.
I also recommend we skip number 5 because I think we've already done a lot of this and something else with the good policy that we did
Okay.
last year.
Right,
And the part that we didn't do, we'll revisit.
Okay. So that would put us,
Skipping,
yeah. That would put us on page 8. The section titled Use of Library, which is Roman numeral 6, which we could just ignore the Roman numeral, but Use of Library
skip.
on page 8, covering subheading A, borrowing. And, A, borrowing. I had a question on page 9 lowercase e, where it says, "A resident of a state other than Massachusetts who wishes to borrow materials may be required to pay a fee in accordance with library and MVLC policies." Do you do this? Okay, what is this exactly? I'm just curious.
Since this is our policy, we should say what the policy is.
I don't know what it is right off, but it's a $75 fee.
And it's a lot of times it's people that
Right.
maybe live in New Hampshire,
Right.
work around here,
Okay,
and want to use the
Yeah.
library. And that fee is not levied by us, I think that's levied by MVLC. That's something that all the
Yeah.
directors got together and said, this is what we will do, because what happened was, small libraries right on the border of New Hampshire
Right.
and Massachusetts were getting hit hard. And they decided, if we're gonna put stuff in transit and do all this, we have to have some way to recoup that.
okay.
Okay, so this is in accordance with MVLC policies, not
Correct.
Right.
library policies.
Correct.
So can we strict the library and just leave it as MVLC?
Can we insert $75 before the word fee, if that's the standard fee MBLC wants?
I don't, well then.
I don't wanna do that, because how do we
It could
know if that
change.
won't change
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Mhm.
It's, I think, voted on like on a yearly thing.
Okay, so,
You can probably strike with library and just leave MVLC policy.
And
A
that,
fee in accordance with MVLC policies,
well, then
that
shouldn't
covers
it
it.
be, will be required to pay the fee as, the fee directed by the policies of MBLC?
Sure.
Not a maybe, but,
Right.
but an actual.
Yes.
Will,
You look like a nice person. We'll waive it. And then
that same thing applies on the last section on borrowing, A1D. A residents of any other Massachusetts town may borrow materials in accordance with the procedure set up by MVLC and the Reuben Hoare Library. So we don't have, this is our policy and we don't have a specific policies for that, so is it just MVLC?
Where are you at?
bottom of
Page
page.
eight.
Bottom of page 8, the very
Bottom of
last
page
eight.
thing.
The letter D.
D.
Not really,
Yeah.
because Massachusetts has reciprocity, and as long as you go in and can provide your hometown library card in good standing, you can borrow in any library in the state of Massachusetts.
Okay, so we don't have a policy, though, the state has a policy,
The
or
state has a
MVLC has
policy.
a policy.
MVLC doesn't have a policy on that.
Okay, set up,
It's set up by the state reciprocity policy.
can we just say that then? The state reciprocity?
Yeah.
Reciprocity policy.
So set up by this.
How about with procedures in
Is
accordance
that with
with?
MBLC then?
Probably Massachusetts, yeah.
Set up by MBLC.
Mhm.
There's a typo on page 9.
wait, wait, wait. Henry, you wanna make these changes as we go, or you just want to?
I'm not sure, I see everybody's writing, but I don't really know
But-
what they're
I'm not-
writing.
I'm not ri-
You're not,
I'm not
you're
writing.
thinking.
Why don't we do this?
Um,
I'm taking notes. I'm happy to take the electronic document, modify it with our notes, and one other person, you
I'm
can
gonna
read
do
through
that.
it.
I'm
Or
gonna
you
do
do
that.
it.
I'll send it to
All right, you
and
do
then
it, and then I'll check it, and then that'll be the presented draft for us to read one more time to
Seems
check.
like a very good move.
Okay, because I think it's,
It's, yeah.
we've done it already. It was a long time ago, but I think it'll probably make better sense to do it that way than all of us trying to take notes.
Yeah, please.
And the only thing that I have,
And then to clarify, then at our next meeting, we'll theoretically, people we'll send those out before our next meeting, and our next meeting, we can just blanket
Yes.
vote down.
agreed,
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
only thing we'll have to resolve should be any typo.
correct.
Okay.
I have, with respect to under A, paragraph B, midway down, the library does not serve in local parentis. This needs to be, the quotes need to be taken out, and in local parentis needs to be italicized. And we could also just take out the Latin verbiage and instead say the library does not serve the library will not make barring decisions on behalf of children, but recognizes the right and responsibility of a parent to determine and inform. It might just be better to take the Latin out.
And on page 9, I thought that there was a typo in the double I, where it says borrowing privileges are discontinued when the Reuben Hoare Library receives notice of that a library. So strike out of, and it just reads, receives notice that a library is not certified.
Mm-hmm.
Would anyone like to make any additional comments or edits for this section titled Use of the Library?
The section relative to borrowing,
Right.
I think that
Yeah.
Isn't it 3 years now?
paragraph C
Okay.
in there, a patron has access to the entire
Registration is
collection.
valid for
I think
5
that
years,
should be
page 9.
put in,
Section
well, actually,
A.
I think that it's already there. In A, the library extends access to its materials. Or-
Yeah, 3 years.
Yes, 3.
I just don't think we need it at all, the access paragraph.
What are you talking about?
On page 11, midway down,
Okay.
we can either include access,
Okay.
you know, in maybe paragraph A of borrowing, or just get rid of it. I mean, the library extends access to, you can say its materials and and its entire collection, if you wanna use that language.
Or check the very first, right under borrowing, after patrons, we're extending the access to the materials. It's almost
It's the same
Yeah,
idea.
redundant, yeah.
I don't think we need it.
So remove access.
Yeah.
And that would make intranet use D. I mean, would make internet use C instead of D. Okay.
So, back to borrowing, the library, under, just the first one, the library extends access to its materials for use in the library by all Massachusetts residents, no matter what their town, blah, blah, blah. We don't check your ID on your way in,
Right,
right? So,
yeah.
Right.
we don't care whether they're a Massachusetts resident, anyone can use the material in the library, right?
Right, but I think that's referring to when
Check them
towns
out.
are decertified, they could still come in here and use the materials in here, but they cannot take anything out of here.
Right, so, but you don't care, if someone came in from Germany and wanted to use the library.
It says
or
for use in the library.
There, yes, but you don't care whether, anyone can come in and use any material in the library, right?
Okay, so just,
Including the computers, right?
right,
They don't need to show a library card to use the computer, they can use anything in the library regardless of their residency.
Yeah, that's true.
Can we just say the library extends access to its materials for use in the library to
To
all,
all.
period?
Yeah.
Page 11.
8.
On page 9, 2A, the last sentence should be registration is valid for 3 years, not 5.
Okay. I'm going to address intranet use, which has been changed to C and not D, and say that on page 12, there is a typo. I believe SATE is supposed to be reading state with federal and state laws.
First line.
Yes, first line, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth line, pornography, there's a,
That's, apostrophe.
yes, apostrophe. I don't think that's supposed to be there.
should it be a comma instead? Is this supposed to be a comma?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
As well, should there be one after Electronic Communications Privacy Act,
Good,
comma.
good catch.
Oxford counts.
Yep,
I feel like-
and the one that's next to hacking should be inside the quotation and not outside.
I have never heard of the behavior known as cracking. What is
Hacking
that?
and cracking?
Hacking and cracking.
And smacking and
I've heard of
backing.
hacking, but not cracking.
I don't know,
What is
what is
that?
cracking?
Hey, isn't it something they do with their nose? I don't know.
I mean, we should prohibit it anyway, because it sounds nasty, but, you know, I wasn't sure what that was.
Cracking the code. In paragraph 2 on page 12, there's a line that reads, "This includes blocking communication line and running." What is that? It's in reference to gaining unauthorized access to local or remote computers to damage the operations of RHL
I think it's
computers.
running, installing, or sharing.
Okay,
There's a,
okay,
I think
So
there's a
do we allow
Oxford
anyone to
comma
install
missing.
anything on our computers?
They can't.
okay.
They've been disabled in
Yeah.
that way, so that doesn't, we
Yeah,
just
so-
take that out.
So
Right?
it's blocking communication
It's not even,
lines
you can't even do it.
and
Right.
Right.
running, installing,
So
or
we can
sharing
just
of
take that whole
virus
sentence out because
Take out that
it's not
sentence.
possible to do.
Okay.
By the way, hacking and cracking, password cracking is the
Okay.
process of recovering passwords from data
Oh.
that has been stored.
Okay.
Or just gaining unauthorized access to computer systems to commit a crime is cracking. Basically the same as hacking.
Hacking and
Oh.
cracking.
And I just had a general question. While I was reading through these policies, I noticed this italicized line, for instance, approved by Reuben Hoare Library trustees on January 9th, 2003. Like periodically, we see this italicized line show up as, I guess, various times during the years that this has been approved. Do we still need that down there?
So each page, each chapter will have
Okay.
when we last approved.
Okay, all right.
But
This is-
if we go through this now, we should be able to say, at the bottom of every page, approved by the Reuben Hoare Library
At
trustees
the bottom of each
on
document.
September,
Each
whatever.
document will say that it
Yes,
was
okay.
approved.
Do we have to include internet users are reminded? It's not really part of a policy. The second, the
No, it's true. Yeah.
end of page 12 under the internet stuff. Internet users are reminded that not all sources provide accurate, I mean, maybe in 2003 it was important to remind people of that in the policy, but
Yeah, I think
That
that whole
doesn't feel like-
paragraph can go.
Okay.
You might find stuff on the internet which is not true.
you might.
It's really not our job to let them know
Yep.
true or
Good
false.
point for that. This is not the venue for that reminder anyway.
No, I don't think so.
On page 14, under number 6 sales, there was another typo. I believe that core, C-O-R, is supposed to read or. So it's supposed to say collection or solicitations.
Yep. And I think we should also put in here, maybe with smoking, also vaping should be included. Because I think that there are people who think that it's distinct from smoking.
Yeah, I do think that's a good idea.
So smoking and vaping are prohibited.
Yes.
And frowned upon.
Okay. And so number 3 can read smoking and vaping. And then.
And
smoking
I
and
think we
vaping.
can take out, I think we can take out that next line altogether as far as pursuant to as amended
Yes.
by, you know, you can just say smoking and vaping are not prohibited. You can in fact probably say anywhere within the library or within, what is it, 25 feet of entrances, there's some,
Yeah.
there's some public building,
Go outside.
yeah, I'll see how far it is.
While we're over here on vaping, what about number 4, eating and drinking?
Did you eat your Hershey Kiss or not tonight?
Will.
Well, it's
We
only
have
in
a
the house.
policy now, right, that this is no eating and drinking, we have a coffee machine right in the
No,
library.
we
It says only in the Houghton Historical Room.
So, yeah, it says you can't eat or drink in the Houghton room, and it says beverages in covered containers are permitted. But I don't know that we
What's-
actually
what's
provide.
He's not gonna have a
number-
pizza in the
What's
Cooper
number four
room.
talking about?
Yes,
It's
That's
for
4D.
subsection A.
Eating
Yeah.
and drinking is a title,
right.
No,
it's a heading.
So 4A says you can't eat or drink in the Houghton room. 4B says beverages in covered containers are permitted, but I think we allow them everywhere, right? So
Yeah.
beverages are permitted. And do we do anything about food?
not really.
No?
So there's no restrictions on food elsewhere?
No, it's just the historical room.
So we can just make it eating and drinking are prohibited in the,
Historical room.
yeah.
So,
B goes away.
all right, B goes away.
On page 15, under services, which is H.
Is page 14 all okay? You're at 15?
Yeah, I'm just addressing some of the comments and edits that I made while I went through the document. That's why I skipped page 14, because I only saw, my only issue was with the typo of or, which we amended. But on page 15, I wanted to address the copier. Is it still coin operated? Under services, one copier A, it says the Friends of the Reuben Hoare Library provide a coin operated copier for patron use.
No.
Nope.
So how does so we have to amend that to how the copier functions? What-
Right, the copy is also now a scanner too.
Okay, so we have to address
Yeah.
that, of those, so.
Yeah, it's,
New charge?
yeah, it's just 10 cents a page.
Okay. And do we need to write down form of payment in the policies or that not necessary? Okay, so. And do the Friends of the Reuben Hoare Library provide this?
No.
So it would just be the Reuben Hoare Library provides a copier and scanner for patron use
Yeah, for a fee.
for a
Pay
fee
per use copier.
Yeah.
and scanner.
But we
There's
don't
two
charge for
scanners.
scans.
Oh, okay, no, okay, then
Yeah.
copier, all right.
On page 14 at the top, number 6 under sales, there is a typo, I believe. After the word collection, there is COR, that should be O, that should be or rather than core.
Mhm.
Collection or solicitations,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll strike the C.
And then back to services for number 2, facsimile. The line about the library providing a fax machine, there are no rates, it's free.
Right.
Right.
So
We still set the rates. So we set the rate to be free, so the
Right.
policy is correct.
okay. All right, so we just leave that?
We don't have a
Word
word
processor.
processor. I just was like, what is that?
Processor.
So 3 goes away.
Goes away.
So,
Okay. Now,
When was that approved, 1980?
under staffing, which is earlier on page 15, on school early release days on Mondays through Friday between 2 and 5, 4 are required. First, those aren't our hours, and do we really say that we require 4?
No, we always want to say 3, right?
Yeah, say 3.
So just get rid of that.
Sentence
Yep.
goes away.
Mm-hmm.
we're
Okay.
almost there. Page,
Wait, I'm
I'm
not-
sorry, Mark.
14.
Okay,
The last sentence, the last item, number 4. Staff working in the library in evenings and weekends will make a decision about closing after checking the weather forecast and special, that's not true, right? We don't allow staff to do that. It's the chair of the trustees will make that determination.
Well,
Or
don't you
the
allow
chair.
senior staff
Yeah.
on,
No.
yes,
Yes.
if it's like 8 o'clock on a snowy night, we don't call you, they would close.
I think they have to call us.
No.
I've always been, when I was chair, I was always called for closing. You want that for this, you want that. just, let's leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I mean, but the policy hasn't been that, has it?
It-
No,
You called me multiple times this last winter.
Yeah, that was
it's different. We're talking about 8 o'clock, it's snowing terribly, and you wanna, and you're talking about an early closing, not showing up at, not like closing on a sad day before you open,
Right.
not a snow day, but that usually was reserved for the senior staff person to make that call.
Mm-hmm.
So Andy would call me and tell
Yeah.
me that Andy would call and
If
say that
Andy
she
was
wanted,
on.
yeah. I'm just picking on
Yeah.
Andy as the
Yeah,
senior
yeah,
staff. She
yeah.
would call me and say, I wanna close, and I would
Mhm.
say, yes.
Okay.
But Andy shouldn't make that call. It should be one of us. And you can say an officer, you can say what, you can say.
A member of the Board
a
of
board.
Trustees, any
You
six
probably
of
wanna
us.
say an officer, just so that you can,
Sure.
it's not a random person on the board, but an officer.
So let me just be clear. So when this meeting ends, we'll send out a little email to whoever is, to the few senior staff people that would be in charge in an evening for this coming winter, that they need to contact someone on the Board of Trustees to get the okay before they allow the staff to leave in a snowstorm.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay?
Yes. Yes, that
Okay.
should be the policy. It's for your benefit, not for us.
Mhm.
So
What's the benefit?
it has to do with town politics and the town offices do not want, hired staff making the call on when they're open. They don't want someone who's working making that call.
That, I think they didn't want people that would gain, an hourly employee that would gain from it.
Yes.
But I don't think that, if you were salaried, it mattered, to be honest.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So, so. I don't know. So, I think, and you probably don't wanna make the call by yourself either, right?
Yeah, I usually call the,
Yeah, you called me last
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Okay, so, and on number 2, the library will close on all federal and state legal holidays. Doesn't the town determine what days we close, not the,
Mhm.
so we'll be closed according to the town schedule?
Yeah.
Okay,
Anything else, Mark, you want to add about hours?
nope,
Okay. On page 16, under number 8,
wait, before we go too far in 16,
Okay.
don't we have a separate meeting room policy already? So, I would say skip this altogether.
skip the whole thing.
Skip meeting rooms, it's already,
Okay, all right,
it's already another policy.
Yeah.
okay. All right. Strike meeting rooms. I had a question on page 18 with the art exhibits. They talk about a volunteer art coordinator and a volunteer art exhibit coordinator, which I assume
Cheryl.
they mean this. Okay,
So I think that's a separate policy too, isn't it?
yes, it's,
so we can strike out number 5, art exhibits from this, or it's,
There is already a policy on art exhibits, yes.
all right.
And just going back to page 17, do we have issues boxes? What does it even mean? Do we have a community shelf?
Issues,
I don't know if we have any of that.
We do have a community shelf.
yeah.
Where is that shelf?
That is where you would find a lot of things like for the Conservation Commission, the
Oh,
Water
okay.
Department puts out their water report.
Okay.
If there's a lottery for housing or whatever,
Sure.
all those things go on the top of that community shelf. There's also scholarship applications there, so, yeah.
So maybe we should change 3 to publications of local issues can be placed on the community shelf.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect, because we don't have boxes. Or we could buy boxes and leave it. It's another choice.
Are there any more comments or edits for this entire section titled Use of the Library?
Yeah, just curious, displays of bulletin boards, section 2 bulletin board, part C. Strictly commercial notices will be put in a notebook for patrons' perusal. Do we actually have one of those?
Yep.
Good.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do people peruse it?
Sometimes. All right.
If someone's looking for like daycare or whatever, they, you know.
Are we ready to make a motion to approve this section titled Use of the Library?
Okay, before we do that, can I ask
Okay.
a question? I think this one's huge too, should we break this up into a lot? I mean, I'm fine with approving the section, but I think when we actually write it as a policy,
Okay.
it's more than one document.
Okay.
So what are we motioning? To approve it as pending
Yeah, the same
our
thing.
update?
Pending as amended.
I can motion that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that covers the general RHL policies, mission through use of library. In future meetings, I will reduce the number of pages that we go over in interest of time. But thank you for amending these portions of the document. We are going to move on to the Ray Grandy Memorial Scholarship 2017-2018 requirements. This addresses approving Caleb's service and issuing him a check for the number of hours that he completed for his scholarship. So can we just make a motion about that, or? Okay.
He completed, I mean, he completed the requirements that he
Yes.
needed.
Right, way before he needed to have them completed by July 31st, and he had them completed sometime in the beginning of June, correct?
Mhm.
Which was very excellent. So would anyone like to make a motion to approve, before we even do that, I'm sorry. We are scheduled to, we are supposed to give him an amount of,
1,750.
Okay.
No less than 1,000.
no less, okay, so do we want to approve we will, sorry, not, do we want to? We will. Someone make a motion to approve Caleb to receive, 1,007, I'm sorry?
Okay, okay. Did he do exactly 150 hours? He did over 150 hours. What did he do?
I think he did exactly 150.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve Caleb Church to receive his scholarship of $1,750 for completing his 150 hours of volunteer work at the library.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Will you spell Caleb for me, please?
C-A-L-E-B, Caleb.
Yeah. Last name Church.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the Ray Grandy Memorial Scholarship 2018 to 2019. Now, if you're still watching this meeting, you can find this scholarship section under About Us. And it has its own listing for the Ray Grandy Memorial Scholarship. I wanted to start talking about the next round for this year because September school is going to start, and we want to promote the scholarship and make sure that the applications come in a timely manner, so our scholarship recipients have the time during the year to complete their 150 hours. So what I wanted to just ask that we do tonight is just look over the scholarship application and the scholarship criteria and make any suggested changes or edits. And then in September, I'd like to talk about how we are going to promote it in the community and how we are going to contact the schools to get these application and criteria out. The only, Mark and I worked on this last year, so the only things I would change are the date. If you want to, October 2nd this year is on a Tuesday. Are we okay with the deadline still remaining October 2nd as the deadline for when applications can come into SAM? We will have a meeting that Thursday, and we will have the applications to look over. Is that enough time, or do you think that we should make the deadline earlier?
I don't think you can make the deadline any earlier than
Okay.
you get any applicants.
Okay. So therefore, other changes I would suggest would be under eligibility requirements in the scholarship application. Instead of saying must be agree, I think that was a typo, it just should read must agree to volunteer. And then obviously all hours must be completed by 2019, not 2018. And our meeting in October is going to be October 4th, not October 5th. Which actually, I'm actually wondering about attend an in-person interview before the Board of Library Trustees and Library Director on October 4th. If we got the applications on October 2nd, I don't think we can do that.
Why not?
If they fill this out, they'll see that this
Right.
is one of the eligibility requirements.
Right,
Plus, I'll probably get it before the deadline,
okay,
and I can just invite,
right, so you still wanna keep that?
yeah.
Okay.
That's-
All right. Would anyone else like to suggest any changes to the scholarship application or the scholarship criteria?
Looks good.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept the Ray Grandy Memorial Scholarship application as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Okay, it's the moment we have been waiting to get to, which is the reason why we are having this meeting on July 26th and not the first Thursday of July, which would have been the 5th. The MBLC construction grant waiting list announcement / plans moving forward.
Okay, well, MBLC announced that the Hingham, Greenfield, and Marlborough libraries, they were number 1, 2, 3 on the list, on the waiting list for provisional grants, have been awarded their provisional grants. So that means we're now number 1 on the waiting list. And basically, this leaves Littleton with, if Hingham, either Hingham, Greenfield, or Marlborough are, one of them doesn't pass, then that money goes back into the pot for MBLC. And then that means in January, they will announce another round of grants, and since we're number 1, that means we'll be next, which would mean that we would go to Maytown meeting if we are given the provisional grant in January. If all 3 libraries pass, then they usually make another announcement in next July, like they made this past July 15th, and that will mean that we'll also be number 1 still, so that means we'll most likely get the grant again, and that would leave us with 6 months, which means November town meeting. So,
No later than November town meeting.
right.
There's nothing that prevents
Next November.
us, November 2019, there's nothing that prevents us either way from going to the May 2019 town meeting.
Right.
And just being number one on the wait list, does that mean if one of the other towns decides not to, that they'll pick us? Or will they pick someone with a number that more closely matches?
No, we'll be next.
So, because
Yeah.
I notice all the other libraries have big numbers
Right.
compared to us.
That just means they'll
Have
give
extra-
more money to
Okay,
have more libraries to pull from the list.
okay.
But we're still number one, so that means we're next. Yeah. Keith actually, when he asked about this whole process, Lauren said that we were next either way. Yeah. And this doesn't mean, it's usually up to the state, so if next July they might not award any money, but that's a long shot.
Okay.
Well, we have the fundraising committee working
Right.
this
And the
year.
public awareness committee
And yes, I think that before January, we need to revisit the idea of the ballot initiative committee, just to establish who's going to head up that committee and how many and who particular members would be on that committee. I also think, have we been in contact with Patrick since he?
I have not.
I feel like we didn't really get a chance to speak to him at length about what he could offer in terms of advice for a campaign, considering his flight was so late. So is there any way that we can touch base or get in contact with him again before January?
Yeah, I could contact him if you want.
I think in our October meeting, we should decide whether want to say we're going for May regardless, because you have to submit your budget request to Bonnie, and we should decide whether or not we're putting the request for the capital money on there or not. Regardless of whether we get the grant in January, if we're almost positive it's gonna come in July, then we should decide
Yeah.
that we're going or not going.
Yeah. We'll probably even know by then anyway, as far as the other three libraries.
Right, because they're going to be voting at their town meetings in the
Right,
fall.
yeah. And some of them are larger towns, so sometimes it's not even the town meeting, it's the mayor or the,
Oh, right, that's
So-
true.
yeah.
So I think I think October we decide, when we have a full board and more time to digest this. And maybe we'll know more about the town hall, what the state of the town hall is, and tax and flags and all that stuff.
Then we will put that on the agenda for October. Would anyone else like to comment about the construction grant waiting list?
We're number one.
Yay!
Okay, we will move on to MMDT transfer programming funds and scholarship funds. I believe there's a number of funds we need to approve.
Right, so usually around this time, you guys replenish the MMDT. Also, as you'll see in your packet, there's a list of programs that Helen has come up with for the fall, and they total $1,000. So we'd like to request $1,000 to use towards adult programming. And then finally, it's the $1,750 to cut Caleb's check.
I make a motion that 2,700.
Let's make it $4,000, so we don't have to do this again.
I make a motion that we transfer $4,000 from MMDT to cover $1,000 worth of fall programming for the scholarship to Caleb Church and for other incidental monies that may be
Okay.
needed.
Don't we have to pick from?
I think we have to.
Oh, we
pick
need to
one of these
pick,
because
sorry.
the only fund we have is the building fund.
Well, let's pick from a fund then.
And we have to pick from
Yes, one of these.
or
Hold on, Henry, it's coming. Which one do you like? Which one shall we shop from?
Which were the funds? Which ones were they?
We can use unspecified second century.
beginning of the realized gains and losses that we did. The second century is a good one.
Okay,
Well, yeah, the second century.
all right. So I make a motion that we transfer $4,000 from the second century unspecified Fund number 401 to cover the costs for fall programming for the scholarship recipient.
Transfer to LGT operating.
Yes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that is number 401. $4,000 from that to MMDT operating.
Last item on the agenda is the library director's contract.
Okay, so because at last town meeting, it was voted to change everybody's pay scale, that means my pay scale changed, so that needs to be reflected in my contract. So sorry this is late, it was just given to me, actually, before this meeting. So basically, I need you to approve it, and then for Dimitri to sign it.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the amendment to Sam's contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Does anybody else have any additional comments before we close the meeting? Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next meeting is Thursday, September 6th, 2018. Thank you for tonight's meeting, and everybody have a great summer.
Thursday, 9/6.